Hi there, Paul. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining me today. The subject matter for today's discussion is around the digital trust fabric. Can you give us an overview of what that means for TES?
Yeah, so the digital trust fabric is an amalgamation of a number of products sitting across the top of IBM Enterprise Hardware. We, as TES, have a number of servers that we use to port and to embed IBM technology into their software. And that complements their products by exploiting things like quantum safe encryption or Spire 2 and Telum 2 chips for analytics. And so once those products are born onto the platform, we then use that to secure or provide sovereign AI.
Great stuff. And what is it about the sort of current marketplace or the current set of circumstances that created this as a sort of aha moment for TES specifically?
So it wasn't an immediate aha moment. It was a moment that's been born through frustration and through observation over the last 12 to 18 months. We've seen governments and corporations go into a cloud-first policy without those organizations fully understanding the implications of having their data, their sensitive data, and sometimes national critical infrastructure being held and hosted by a US provider under US terms that are subject to the US Cloud Act, which basically means that the US government can at any time have a look at that data and there is nothing that you can do about it. So the implications are very large, and what we've seen in our own customers in the UK government, they have gone and even sold critical national infrastructure such as supercomputers back to a hyperscaler and then rented that back as a cloud adjacent service. And those same companies are providing services that are critical to the NHS, critical to flight, critical to shipping, critical to defense. And now that infrastructure is owned and controlled by the US.
Amazing. Oh, I mean, so this is all about really taking back control of your data and who can see it.
Absolutely. So the products that we've ported to the platform mean that we can ensure that even cloud data that is held in the cloud, we can encrypt using hardware security modules from IBM, which are quantum safe with tamper proof. We hold the encryption keys on premise, so away from the US Cloud Act. The data is encrypted in the cloud, so therefore cannot be opened or accessed by the hypervisor, by the US government. And the keys are held by the government department or by the corporation that use that product. We can also ensure that data that is shared either cross-border or is moved between departments is masked, anonymized, pseudonymized. So we intercept and we enforce data privacy rules at the integration layer. And then we have a federated data platform that leaves data in place, whether that's in the cloud or whether that's on-premise or in other data centers. And we map the metadata, we bring that back to a central metadata database.
Okay.
And from there, we build ontologies, which is a common business language. And then from there, we build data objects like a mortgage or a customer. And we can then ask questions of the data in place. Even if that data is shared between 100, 200 systems, we can ask questions of that data in place without creating a huge data lake, without putting it up into AWS or Azure or Google or any hyperscaler.
Yeah.
It means that that data is then protected in place without it having to move.
Okay. And I guess from what you said, this answers a lot of those questions that people in senior organizations are starting to ask about how they protect their own data. What sort of conversations are you having with those sort of personas in organizations?
Well, we're seeing a lot of organizations now that they're starting to question the cloud and what's in the cloud.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, they don't know what data is in there and how sensitive it is. So we can not only understand what that data is and where it sits, how often it's used, or whether there's sensitive PII data in there as well. But once we understand that, we can then decide whether we bring it back through the federated data platform because we know its usage, because we know where it sits.
Yeah.
We can then, and because the federated data platform has a write back facility, we can map that data. We can build those data objects, and we then feed those data objects into a secure database hosted on IBM technology. And then those data objects are fed into the database table, whether that's on Mongo, Postgres, Cockroach, or even into Oracle on IBM Tech. So we can then repatriate data that was put into the cloud and is now deemed too sensitive to remain there.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it puts TES in a unique position in some ways, doesn't it? Being able to have the skills and expertise to support clients in trying to fulfill these needs and requirements to set up their infrastructure in a way that protects data.
Yeah, it does. But, and it wasn't, I hate to say it wasn't by design.
Right.
It came about simply because we've been working with this technology for so long, and we understand how good it is and how great it is for securing data. We understand how good it is for I/O. We understand how good it is for secure memory. We understand how good it is for on-chip acceleration for AI. And so once we bring these technologies from third-party companies onto the platform, we can then start to exploit the hardware and the software together. And then it was like, hang on, this is the lights on moment.
Yeah.
We can protect that data that's flowing from here up into the cloud. We can encrypt it before it gets there, and we can hold the keys. Or, well, now now the data's up there, or the data's over there and there and there and there, and we're seeing some huge data lakes going on.
Right.
But the answers aren't being delivered because the data's not all there. And if you haven't moved all the data into the cloud, then you can't ask the questions.
Yeah.
But if you can keep the data where it is and ask the questions, isn't that cheaper? Isn't that more secure?
Yeah.
So the light bulb moment didn't happen overnight. It just was like, hang on, if we do that with that and that with that. And then, so that's how the digital trust fabric came together.
Okay.
Because we realized that we can then secure and we can analyze.
Yeah.
Without moving data into huge lakes.